Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Misclick Podcast.
Hey, woo!
We're back for more.
I'll always start with just a general woo at the start of these, I swear to God.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, then why change it?
Just the one-toned whoop.
Yep. Whoop. We bring you discussions and news about video games, content creation, and everything in between, but primarily those things. And first of all, thank you to all the viewers that gave us a lot of love in the first episode. We hit 100 views in 4 days.
Damn.
Yeah, that was absolutely fucking mental.
Absolutely, I did not expect that.
Insanity, man. It's crazy.
I was just sitting there, like, refreshing the page, just looking, and, like, the number kept going up and up and up, and it was like, whoa. That's your cray.
Yeah, holy fuck. How did that happen?
For the power of internet.
And love.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's very accurate.
Yeah. I mean, it ain't gonna exist without it.
And I gained 4 subscribers and everything, so everything was just perfect.
Let's see if we can keep that roll going.
Yeah. Gotta keep that rolling, yo.
Dude, 4 subscribers a podcast, you'll be at like 1,000 in a couple years. It'll get there though.
Yeah,
Shit will be lit.
yeah, that's, and we only do this like once every second week. So doing the math, that's gonna take way more than 2 years.
Oh, oops.
But I like the spirit, and I'm definitely keeping that.
Positivity, yo.
Yeah, exactly. As much as possible.
Just like drown ourselves in positivity. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I get along these days, anyway.
Same.
Yep. That's what you gotta stay positive, man, because life likes to kick you in the nuts or the ovaries a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm turning 26 very soon. So I'm getting a lot of, oh, what am I doing?
I feel that feel. I'm turning
Yeah.
20 this year, and every time I think of it, it's just like, oh, jeez, why?
Oh, dear.
I'm turning 31 this year, and I still don't know what the hell I'm doing, but it's working out.
Oh, God. Well, it's nice to know that it never changes then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
We'll just always be in the mindset of, oh my God, I don't know anymore.
I think
An
maybe
accurate summary, to be
you
honest.
start to figure it out when you're like 60 or 70, and then maybe, but I guess until then it's just kind of all over the place.
Hindsight is always 20/20, right? So you look back at your life and you're like, oh, that was what it was all about.
Yeah, I
Then
feel
everything
that feel.
makes sense. But your life is over.
Yeah, definitely.
This got very depressing. Okay, we have to move on now.
This is a fun podcast.
Yeah. For those very interested in listening to the podcast and not having it on, video format on YouTube, it is now also available on SoundCloud. Just search for the Misclick Podcast and you will have the episodes there as well, released on the same day as the video goes online on YouTube.
Hot damn.
Oh yeah, I was working mighty fast to get that up and running. And I might try to do that with iTunes as well in the future. But for now, SoundCloud is good to go.
Sweet.
Can't go wrong with SoundCloud.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's like the old faithful.
Yeah, and my thought behind it was I don't know exactly how people with like Android phones will access podcasts uploaded on iTunes.
Yeah.
So I was thinking if we do it on SoundCloud, then both can do it.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Definitely a good idea.
So, moving on, what have we all been playing recently? And can I start this time?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I finally finished Breath of the Wild.
And what is your verdict on it?
Mm.
Good, bad?
In terms of the game overall, it's pretty damn amazing. But in terms of the ending, it was very underwhelming. I was not very satisfied with that, sadly.
Oh.
It's unfortunate.
It felt a bit like, was that it? Really?
Yeah, I've seen quite a few people say that online actually about it.
And I think I know why. It's kind of because throughout the whole game you feel like you're fighting to survive, right? You're fighting to get better gear and better weapons and all that. You feel like the whole world is against you with minions everywhere, that kind of stuff. And Hyrule Castle in and of itself is quite the challenge. So you're like, okay, this is building up to something massive, and I don't know if I'm equipped well enough to handle what the end boss is giving me. But it was super easy. So I'm like, oh wow, really? All that build up, all that gear that I farmed, I feel like I overdid it now. And that's not really how I wanted the final battle against Ganon to be.
That's understandable.
Yeah, you could definitely feel there. I mean, like, pretty much in every Zelda game, it's always felt climactic, you know? Even if you know Ganon's probably going to come back again in another game, like, at least you have still some kind of closure to most Zelda games. If not all of them, I guess it's Breath of the Wild in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, and that's a thing that goes like for every Zelda game. After you've beaten the main story, that's it. You can't go around and explore Hyrule afterwards.
Really?
That's
Even
dumb.
in Breath of the
And I'm
Wild?
just like, oh, if I wanna, I mean, the game makes an autosave for you right before you enter the battle. So you can just load that up and then leave the castle and do whatever you want. But still, I would like to walk around in Hyrule after everything has been dealt with. So Hyrule is not this big, massive, evil tower. That it's actually a place you can go and explore and everything's fine now. You know, everything you've been fighting for, you can't really get that.
Yeah, that does sound pretty bad.
Yeah.
And the same for... And that's another thing, because the story is very centered around Zelda and what she was doing. So you have this motivation that you really want to save Zelda so you can be with her and that kind of stuff. But you just really don't get to do that. I mean, like, it shows some cutscenes where they're together and stuff. And I just want them to hug or something. Don't do it.
This is
At least
Nintendo we're
brush
talking
shoulders.
about, Cosmo.
I know, but...
Like, there's like
they
zero
seem to
PDA,
have
you
a
know?
good relationship in all the flashbacks and stuff, and you're fighting to save her, and Link's just standing there saying nothing.
I mean, you just get maybe like a pat on the back or a handshake, and that's as far as it goes. Don't go no farther than that, unfortunately. Although, if you want to see people's interpretations of it going farther, there's always the internet.
Oh no, let's not speak
Oh,
of what's on the
fanfics.
internet. Oh, I was thinking of certain gifs that you find on the internet.
I mean, it could go any direction. Fanfics is one of them, and what Ice is talking about, I'm sure, is the other one, and among many.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, it's a shame that you don't get like that solid kind of
Like-
something there.
I guess it's the curse of the silent protagonist. Having Link not say anything, so when you finally get a situation where you want him to say something, he's just standing there.
I mean, you don't have to say anything to know when something is like felt. You know, he could express it with his face. I'm sure.
He didn't. He is emotionless. Expressionless.
He's got hands. He can make motions with his hands or something.
I mean, I guess he can say, yeah! That only goes
That's
so far.
all the emotion you need. You can express your love through that shit. That's how
dear.
romance is.
Yeah, I wonder why I'm still single. I clearly got it all wrong.
You're not saying here had enough women, man.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not. So yeah, I played that. Now I can move on to other games, which I have. I started playing Transistor yesterday.
Oh, that's a classic.
Ooh.
Yeah, I guess it is. I've had it for like a couple of years. I just never really played it. I had so much else going on.
I get you.
Yeah, I think it took me a while to come to that too, because I wanted to play it when it first came out, but I think I ended up playing it like, I don't know, a couple years later or something.
But it seems very promising. I like the atmosphere, and just like in Bastion, which was their earlier game, the music so far is so good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I've heard the music for that is really, really good.
it's fantastic. They know how to do their music right.
Yeah. Same goes for the narrator, who is back again. It's kind of their stamp, I guess. A silent protagonist, a narrator, and kick-ass music.
Yeah. They
So I like that so far. I only played it like half an hour.
Oh well, if you liked Bastion, you may like Transistor better because they really expand the battle system compared to Bastion and Transistor.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot more tactical here.
It's very fun once you get closer to the end where you have a lot of things to fool around with and the combinations you can make and stuff like that. Because I know you probably have like one or two things right now, and you can kind of make a little bit of stuff, but it gets pretty crazy when you get all the stuff you want to fool around with. You can come up with so many passives, so many actives, and so many usable abilities and stuff like that. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's an extremely flexible combat system.
Yeah, it really
like
is.
all the power-ups you get, you can either use those as active abilities, or you can use them as power-ups for other abilities, so they get an extra feature, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to move around and really customize your way you want to approach battles, I guess.
Yeah, you turn to the freedom to do whatever, because they have stuff where you can do more stealth stuff, and there's stuff where you can do more like hit and run, or just blowing up stuff, or anything you kind of want. It's pretty much there for you to create. Not to mention the story; it's also like pretty amazing too.
Yeah, it seems interesting. I'm intrigued.
I've seen a few reviews of the game, and the story itself, it seems pretty good. I mean, like, from what I've heard from, like, people that have played it, they really, really love the story.
The story in Bastion was good, I feel.
Yeah,
So I'm glad they're still good storytellers.
definitely.
And then now it's time for a weird one, because I went to a second-hand shop where they had a bunch of Game Boy games.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I picked up Star Wars for the Game Boy.
What?
I was curious.
How
Is
many?
a Star Wars game for the Game Boy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, didn't they only
Turns
make
out it's a
Oh gee.
one or two of those games?
Turns out it's a port of the NES game.
Oh, it was a port from the NES.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I know the Super Nintendo had like 3 or 4 Star Wars games.
Yeah, they had like Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah, Super Return of the Jedi. I guess I had all 3 of them.
But this one for the Game Boy is so bad. Holy fuck, it's bad.
No surprise there.
Oh my god. You just start up in the desert, you have no idea where you're going. You go from cave to cave, and there are monsters in the open world trying to kill you, and there are monsters in the caves trying to kill you. The music is weird, not very good, and extremely repetitive. And inside the caves is like the camera is I mean, Luke, as you play as, is placed in the very middle of the screen. So you can't really see that far ahead, or behind you, or below, or above you, really.
Oh,
So doing
That-
platforming is very strange.
Oh dear.
that sounds pretty shitty, not gonna lie.
It is, yeah. So you just move on ahead, you don't know what's ahead of you, and then suddenly this huge enemy just charging towards you, and like, holy shit, I did not see that coming. There's nothing I could do. but it's strangely fun to play. I get why some people like playing bad games.
Yeah.
There's some weird feeling in I want to beat this, and I don't know why.
It's just like a strange appeal to a really, really shitty game. Like, it's shitty, but at the same time you feel like, oh man, this is so shitty. Let's beat it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you just, basically the whole thought process is just do it for the lols.
Yeah.
Or at least it is for me anyway, if I come across a shitty game.
There's definitely a crowd for that, but like, I don't know. For me, I'm not really that into playing really, really awful games. It's just not my thing.
But maybe it's also because it's an old game and it's a Game Boy game, so it has this charm of like very limited stuff you could do on the platform.
True, yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, they had, compared to today's standards, they had limited ways to create this game. So I'm like, okay, what could they actually do with it? And then I just want to explore it and see what it throws at me.
Yeah, I could kind of understand that, and I can understand people going back to like cult classics and stuff like that because it's cool. But like, I will never touch E.T. for the Atari system. That game's awful. Like, I don't care how much you tell me that game's bad. 100% not gonna touch that.
I want to try it.
If someone paid you $1,000, then would you touch it?
Well, I mean, if you pay me $1,000, then yes, I would. But otherwise, I normally wouldn't.
Would you stream it for 36 hours? For $1,000?
Hell no. No, $1,000. Oh my god, no. No, that's not enough money for 36 hours of ET. Oh my god.
It takes a special kind of insanity to do that.
Yes, it does. Oh.
It could be fun to try just for the experience and see and experience for yourself how horrible it actually is.
Oh no, I played
and how long you can survive.
I played it. I had an Atari when I was a small child, and I played E.T., and I thought back then, like, wow, why is this game so bad? Am I doing this wrong? What the heck am I doing? And then I realized numerous years later that people had, like, shunned it as, like, one of the worst Atari games ever in existence, and I'm just like, well, thank God I was not wrong how bad this game was.
Wow.
Because, like, all I could remember was falling into holes constantly and then never getting out and dying or something. And that was like the whole game, pun intended.
That's so interesting. Like, even as a child, you were like, this game is so bad. Because, I don't know about you guys, but as a kid, I feel like I was more like open towards any and all games. I just wanted to play something. So if a game was bad, I didn't really realize it. I just played it.
Yeah, I think I was the same as a kid. Now you mention it. I mean, I played looking back now, there were a lot of games. Quite a few of the games that I played were pretty shitty. But back in my younger days, I just, played whatever, Even if I would just stay in one area for the entirety of the game, I'd still play it.
Oh yeah, the same. You remember all those demo discs you had? Demos to all kind of games.
Oh, I remember that. Oh, good times. Good times.
Just play the same demos over and over and over again.
Dude, I
had this, I don't know what it was. It was like some snowboarding game or whatever. There was a demo disc and there was like a snowboarding game, and then FIFA 2001, I think.
Whoa.
And
nice.
Some game called Vex.
Oh yeah.
I played a lot of that, even though like the protagonist that you play as just creeped me out.
Yeah, I watched a streamer trying to speedrun it, and we had this joke that it was edgy Super Mario 64. But because it has a lot of similarities with Super Mario 64, like the 3D platforming, check, triple jump, check. You had to collect, instead of stars, it was like shadow hearts. And the story was very dark, and the whole setting was grim. So it was edgy Super Mario.
I just spent all my time on like those like dials where you could like change what time of day it was. I'd just stay on those and spin for like minutes.
Oh yeah.
I kind of remember the desperation of like demos and stuff like that, trying to play through them as fast as you can, or redoing them repeatedly. I used to have back when they used to have Sega Channel when that existed for Comcast over here. I guess you guys probably not have anything like that, but it's basically Comcast, a cable company, somehow allowed Sega to give them like access to their games through cable, and you could basically get new games like every month or so, and they would always have like a trial game or a demo game on there that you could play. You could play the whole game for 30 minutes, but as soon as 30 minutes was up, it cut you off. Like it just send you back to the title or whatever. So one game I was desperate to finish. It was so stupid. I'm even thinking back now because it was just Pinocchio. Like it was just Pinocchio, the Genesis game. That's all it was. But I was super determined to beat that thing in 30 minutes, and I sat there and played it like 5 or 6 times, so finally I beat it under 30 minutes. I was like, take that.
I think I had the same experience as well. But the game that I was like determined to beat, it was a really, really shitty game. It was Scorpion King.
Oh my god.
I think I've heard that title, yeah.
This is modeled after the movie. Oh boy. Yeah, I think that was kind of
Yep. And I was determined to play for it, even though like it's like tiny 4-year-old me was desperately trying to finish it, and well, obviously I never did because I sucked at it. I was terrible. The game was terrible. It was trash, and it always used to get like glitch onto like I don't know, columns and stuff or boxes that were around.
Oh
wow. And inside enemies that happened.
Reminding me of Superman 64, and I don't want to be reminded of that again.
Oh my goodness. That's another trash game.
That's really bad.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
That's like very notorious for being known as like one of the worst games ever. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I ever played that game.
Speaking of very bad and horrible games, what have you been playing, Krakka?
Ouch.
Oh shit, I couldn't resist.
Do you want some ice for that burn?
Damn. Well, I did, after like the podcast last time, I did actually go play Mini Metro for a while because I was intrigued about this tutorial and how the game went. And I found out I was actually really bad at this game, and I piled up passengers so high that they would just riot, and then I would lose. But unfortunately,
yeah,
it's actually like a pretty cool game, though. I must admit,
it is.
Like I figured,
it's very underrated.
If I sat down with it for a while and actually kind of got it down to like a science, so like. Since we didn't go into details on the last podcast, I'll talk a little bit about it, and then you can kind of like add to it if you want to. Since you've actually played it much longer than me, but like,
yeah, well, so and so. But go on.
The general idea.
I shall sit and be educated by this.
It gives you basically like stations that are different shapes, like triangles, circles, squares, and then as it gets more complicated, it turns into like plus signs and hexagons and octagons, and you have to basically connect. It gives you colored like lines, like they have with the subway system, and you just connect stations to lines, and that's it. It's really simple, but as more stations keep popping up, you have to keep moving people out, and you have to keep moving your lines around to the point where there's some kind of balance between them, so that way people are getting picked up and dropped off properly. But they got way complicated for me when integrating like tunnels, and like you have a limited amount of tunnels you can use, so there's sometimes you can shove a line through solid rock areas, but you can only do that so many times, and I can only arrange lines so many times, and you can add upgrades like extra carts and bigger space carts and stuff like that to help mitigate people. But as you keep playing, they keep adding more and more and more stations. And I got to the point where I had like a central hub station, which I upgraded, which was great, but it just got way too busy. Like there was just so many people getting dropped off and picked up from that one station, it eventually just overloaded, and I died.
Yeah, that's usually what happens.
But it's pretty like, it's like super minimalistic, but it's
Very.
also like it's interesting that it's so minimalistic, but it's so complex at the same time.
Yeah.
So
It's a really clever game.
yeah, it really is a clever game. Like for me, I lost my patience, and I was like, I kind of like games with more stories and stuff like that. Like there's some games that I won't sit around too much for puzzles and stuff like, or strategy and stuff like that, you know. But it was cool, you know, for what I played of it. And I know it's probably not a very expensive game. I think it's like $10 or less or something. I forget.
Yeah, it's not too bad, I think.
Yeah, definitely worth it if you're into like that kind of like Zen micromanagement type of thing.
Absolutely.
But other than that, I've been playing ukulele as well.
Ah.
Not to be confused
How do you like
with
that?
the musical instrument. I like it a lot. I mean, I agree with many people that say that it kind of does not have the magic that Banjo-Kazooie did, because that magic is like something you're not going to be able to replicate. I don't think it'd be hard to, because like it's just, in this time period it was a wonderful thing. But now looking back, it's like just games where you just collect stuff all the time. That kind of genre has kind of fallen out since then. Because they had games like Spyro, where Spyro, all you did was collect a shit ton of gems and accomplish missions, and I think there was a little bit of that in like Crash Bandicoot as well. And then there was other games that had the similar vein around that time period. I think Gex was maybe another one where you had to collect things and then reach an end by collecting a certain amount of things. I mean, hell, even they did it with Super Mario 64. I mean, that was just a collectathon as well. But like, it seems like collectathon games have kind of just fallen off a little bit since then. And I'm still like it. It's still a cool genre to me. It's whatever. But yeah, the story just was not as coherent as it was in Banjo-Kazooie. Like the Banjo-Kazooie, even though the story in Banjo-Kazooie was like really loose anyway, you're just kind of wandering around an overworld trying to rescue your well, not yours, I guess it's Banjo's sister. No relation to Kazooie whatsoever. But you know, with ukulele, it's just they kidnapped the big bad guy, which is a bee, kidnapped a magic book, and all the pages fell out, and I have to collect all the pages before he reforms the book and takes over the world, basically.
Hmm.
And that's it. I mean, like, that's the whole story, and you get that right from the get-go, and then everything else from that point on is just you going around and collecting the pages until you eventually get to the end, and you know, you beat him. And that's pretty much it. You know, there wasn't a whole lot to it.
No, okay.
I mean, it's definitely, it's beautiful looking. That is definitely for sure. It runs like smooth as butter, so the code seems like it's pretty well optimized. Like, it doesn't seem very clunky or jittery or anything. It's all pretty smooth stuff, which is nice. I don't know, there's not too many games where I can say that I've had a game where I can play it through from beginning to end and not have like it jerking or crashing or doing something weird, or some textures not loading properly, or some weird pop-in happening or stuff like that. You know, they did a good job building it for sure, but it's just not, it's not Banjo-Kazooie, I guess. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be, because I knew it was going to be something different, but it just, you know, it was definitely, like, I would believe if this existed maybe around the same time Banjo-Kazooie, or even had replaced Banjo-Kazooie back then, I think it'd be pretty fantastic still.
It's interesting with that genre of games that they kind of only work in the time they were made.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So I remember as a kid, I played a lot of those sorts of games, like pretty much all the ones that you listed, like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
played
fucking
a lot
love
of
those
as a
games too.
child.
Like they entertained me for so many hours. They were
Because
Yeah.
there's a lot to collect.
like I wanted to collect everything. I always was like the completionist person, so I was like, I got to get every single thing ever in existence. And oh man, it's so cool.
Yeah, I was the same with because I played a lot of Spyro as a kid, so I was the exact same with that game. And I do agree, like, you know, like those sorts of games are like, you know, they were popular at the time that they came out, you know, in like the early 2000s era. Like not so much these days.
Because I'm trying to get through Banjo-Kazooie for the first time, because I didn't play it as a kid, but I have it now. And there are several things that annoy me that probably wouldn't annoy me back then. Because of, you know, that's what you had back then. But now it's like, oh, the camera is annoying, and it's kind of slow in a way, the whole combat and jumping and moving thing. So I feel like I spend way more time in each stage than I should.
Yeah,
That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and you have to revisit them a lot too after you get new abilities and stuff like that to find the stuff that you missed.
Yeah. But I wonder, because they, with Ukulele, really try to get into that charm and the mood and the feel of old NES collectathons. But the thing about those games was that it was on the hardware that it was, you know, with the graphics that was sort of like simplistic, but they did with it what they could. And another thing is, like, the sound engine used was very limited too.
Yeah.
So all those tunes and whatnot just had this feel to it that you can't really recreate today if you don't use the same method that they were made with back then.
Definitely. Like,
So if you make like modern music to a collectathon with impressive graphics and all that, you kind of lose that nostalgia feeling they were trying to make. And I feel that is one of the reasons why Shovel Knight did so well. Because they used the same cobbler palette as the NES was able to deliver. They used chip tunes in like very close to real 8-bit format, so you really got that nostalgic feeling while playing it, even though it was a total new game.
yeah. Shovel Knight was fantastic. I loved
It's such a good game.
Like, Shovel Knight was just so memorable for me. Like, I can remember the music, the way it looks, like just going around and the bosses and stuff. It was like such a cool way how they designed it all together, and it kind of was like a better Mega Man for me, because your goal was still to get to that one boss and beat the boss. I mean, you didn't get their powers, but you know, whatever. And you still got cool upgrades and stuff, and it was very well done. I absolutely love Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
But I could also see what you're talking about too, because when I think back on Banjo-Kazooie, I remember like the visuals and like very strongly the music. The music in Banjo-Kazooie was really well done. But
So iconic, really.
yeah, and when I think about Ukulele now, I can remember the visuals. The music is just, I don't even remember any of the music from Ukulele at all.
Which is a shame, because it's made by the same composer.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Grant Kirkhope.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awkward.
The music was far less iconic in Ukulele than it was in Banjo-Kazooie, because like in Banjo-Kazooie, the music fit each stage like to like a T almost.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
The sound effects and the feel and everything. Like, they did a really good job of matching the themes in Banjo-Kazooie. The themes seem kind of a little all over the place for Ukulele, except the only one with the strongest theme, there's like a casino area, and that one has probably the strongest theme, because it's a giant casino, so like you can't like go wrong with that as a theme. But like for me, like if I were to go to an ideal casino theme, I would probably pick the Casino Night Zone from like Sonic the Hedgehog, because that was always like one of my favorite zones, and the music was so memorable, and you always bump around on bumpers and stupid stuff like that. It definitely evoked a lot of Casino, even more than Ukulele did, and I may get smote for saying that because there was a lot of Casino stuff there, but it just, I don't know, it just felt like it still was missing that kind of like magic to it. But you know, maybe that's why it's missing, though, is like for the reasons you said, because it wasn't built to be around that time period, and it was built to be more modernized, but to be a callback, but it just didn't. It just didn't work out as well as I guess it should have. But I really don't know if that would be even the developer's fault. It could just be that it could just be something that's not really easy to do in general. You know, it's just something you can't do. I think
that's it. Yeah.
Retro is a hard feeling to get done right, I guess, and the only one that I could really think that's done that recently very well is probably Shovel Knight. That's probably the best example by far, is somebody who did that just right. But it's not easy to do.
Absolutely. So what about you, Icewire?
Well, I actually haven't been playing that many games lately, considering like I had trouble with my PS4 lately, but before I did have trouble with it, I did play a lot of Night in the Woods.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is it's a really good game.
Yeah, I still really want to play that. Have you beaten it yet?
No, not yet. I think I'm on like the final sort of stages of it. I've played through quite a lot of it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome game. I've seen I watched the Jacksepticeye's Let's Play of it, and it's pretty super interesting. Like, it's something I'd probably play eventually, I would say, probably when that's on sale.
The concept of it is really good. Like, the story itself, it's quite well done, even though there's like, you know, no people actually speaking.
Yeah.
And like, if you look closely, there's actually like a lot of themes that they cover. Like, you know, like existential crises.
Yeah, it gets super
real. Yeah. Like, all the stuff that May says is like really relatable. And a lot of the things that the characters say are quite relatable as well.
Definitely.
So very well written.
The only thing that mystifies me about that game is like you have your animal people, but then there's animals too. I'm just like, what's going on?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I noticed that because like in the game, I was like, you know, like walking down the street in game, and there's this, I don't know what she is. She was like a pregnant possum or raccoon lady, and then running by her was a raccoon. So it was like, what?
What the fuck?
Exactly. So it's like, which is the real raccoon? Which one is the true raccoon? I know, it's like, in a way, the game does have like a little bit of like a furry feel to it. But that aside...
Just like Armello.
Yeah, just like Armello. But that aside, it is a really good game.
It reminds me of... it's the same thing in the Pokemon anime, where it's like, okay, all these Pokemons, they kind of look like animals, so I guess there's no animals in this universe. But yes, there is. There is an episode where Ash is looking in an aquarium with real fish. So it's like, okay, so there's real animals.
Well, the Pokemon have to eat something, so I guess. Obviously, animals are not going to defend themselves against a Pokemon very well.
It's a Pokemon eat fish world.
But it's kind of contradicting with the games, I guess, because if you read the Pokédex entries, it will explain stuff like PG hunting, Weedles, and Caterpies and stuff like that. Anyway, that was a sidetrack.
But yeah, like Night in the Woods, I do like it a lot because it reminds me a lot of Oxenfree. I mean, I played that last year and I really, really liked it. And since I finished that game, I have been like looking out for a game similar to it because it was, Oxenfree was like really uniquely done in my opinion. Like I really liked it and how they went about portraying like how the teenagers interacted with each other and how they did all the dialogue and the story. And so I've been keeping my eye out for something similar to that. And then I came across Night in the Woods, and at first I was like, But then later, like, I found out a bit more info, and it was like, oh, okay, this actually might be cool. I'll pick it up. And I did. And yeah, I'm really liking it a lot. It's sort of, like, I had sort of like mediocre expectations of it at first when I picked it up, because I wasn't sure what to expect, because I pretty much went in blind. But now that I'm nearing the end of it, it's a really good game. One thing I do have like one gripe with is like there's a band practice segment, and it's very much like Guitar Hero because you got to press all the buttons right, and I am the worst at that sort of thing. Like I'm recording a series on that game, and just the first time I did it, I amazingly nailed it. But the second and third times that I recorded myself doing it, absolutely terrible, just abysmal. Like I was literally just like smudging my palm all over the buttons, hoping to press the right one. And even the characters comment, "Wow, that was bad." And then like the third time that I got it wrong, like the characters would say, "Wow, that was bad," and then the main character May would be like, "There were so many buttons to press." So it's like really breaking the fourth wall.
Wow, shit. I love it when games do that.
It was a really funny moment.
Cool.
I mean, I felt like a little embarrassed because like, oh no, I fucked up again, but...
They know.
Yeah. So yeah, that is what I've been playing lately, and it's really good.
Nice. So you were able to download your save file into the new PS?
Yes, luckily I backed up the majority of my saves, even though I did lose my Andromeda save, my Witcher saves, and my Fallout 4 saves.
Oh no, not Witcher. That's such a long game.
Yeah, I had about 60 hours in that.
Oh no, don't say that.
That's not
all
real.
gone.
Oh no.
Like, I got to Skellige. Like, I just finished up the main shit in Skellige. And then, bye-bye. It's all gone. I have to redo it.
Oh man. That sucks.
Well, and then again, the game is like 200, 300 hours long, so... Plus you got like all the DLC, so I'm going to be playing that game for a long time.
Yep.
Speaking of The Witcher, I mentioned in the last episode that I did not know anyone who had beaten that game. And now my friend has listened to this podcast, and he corrected me on that because he has beaten it, so I offer him an apology.
Nice.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, I'm actually in a Facebook group for The Witcher on Facebook, and a lot of people, like, there'll be like post after post of people being like, oh, I just finished the game and now I'm on New Game Plus. It's like, how did you do it that fast? Like, they'll say that, like, oh, I've been playing it for like 2 weeks straight, and it's like, how the fuck do you play 200 hours within 2 weeks, dude? How? Tell me your secrets.
If you have no job.
Yep.
And if you only go for the main story, I guess.
I suppose so, but a lot of them did like completionist runs, and it was like, what? How do you?
Wow, okay.
Gee,
How?
that's
Just,
crazy.
there are no gods, only the Witcher, only Geralt, the metrosexual fruitcake.
And determination.
The power of determination.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Cool. Let's move on to our first news story that we have brought to this podcast. We are doing something new, and not a top 3 this time. because we also want to talk about what's going on in the gaming world. And this is a story that I read on Porygon the 6th of May. I'll put a link to it in the description. But it's basically Nintendo that has shut down yet another fan game with a cease and desist order.
Oh,
This time it was Breath of the NES or NES, which was going to be a remake of Breath of the Wild. So it looked and played like the very first Zelda game. It was inspired by a prototype Nintendo made during the development of Breath of the Wild. So the one-man developer known as Winter Drake, he wanted to make it a real thing, because a lot of people they saw, there was this huge talk Nintendo did at Game Developers Conference, where they said that they made a very simplistic prototype of how the game would look, and that was made in the style of the first Zelda. And a lot of people were like, "Wow, I want to play that. That looks so cool."
Sounds really awesome.
It does, and the screenshots alone are like, "Whoa, that's cool." So this guy known as Winter Drake wanted to make that, but after he had released like trailers and screenshots and that kind of stuff on Reddit, Nintendo forcefully pulled the plug, as they usually do. Because there's nothing really new about this behavior. It's not the first time they've been doing this. Back in September last year, they took down 500 fan creations on a single day.
Holy
Jesus Christ.
Along
brutal.
with those, the more known games or more popular fan games, Pokemon Uranium and AM2R, which is also known as another Metroid 2 remake.
Yeah, I remember those.
I remember the Pokemon Uranium thing happening.
Yeah, it got a lot of publicity.
Yeah.
But was it really necessary? And why are other companies okay with stuff like this, while others clearly aren't? The article also has Stephen MacArthur, which is known as the video game lawyer. Some quotes from him, which are very good. One of them is the following: "It is legally unnecessary and also terrible business and marketing policy for game companies to shut down all fan-made projects celebrating their IP," quote unquote, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
And yet, according to the article, the former Nintendo president Satoru Iwata, may he rest in peace, made some key points regarding fan creations. He said, "They can't approve any and all activities because they have to protect their intellectual property," which is understandable. "They have to investigate if each case diminishes the dignity or value of their intellectual property," quote unquote. And finally, the most interesting one, I feel, is Iwata that said, and I quote, "It would not be appropriate if we treated people who did something based on affection for Nintendo as criminals."
Yeah.
And yet here we are with another takedown. The developer of Breath of the NES states that he saw this coming, more or less, but he will still continue the development of it, but remove any and all Zelda assets in it. I encourage everyone out there to read the full article, because it's a very interesting read. Of course, we're not going to go all deep into copyright law here, since it's a huge mess and a can of worms to open up.
Yeah,
But
that is a huge nightmare.
yeah. But we do, however, wish to discuss the ethics and benefits, the pros and cons of fan games and mod creation as a whole. So, Krakka, I know you've been itching to discuss this topic, so why don't you
Take it
start
away,
with
man.
your thoughts?
Take it away.
Oh, boy. Man, this is a scary topic to get into, because it really is a complete and utter can of worms.
It is completely. We're jumping straight into the messy ones.
Yeah, we're starting right into the miasma here, boy. Well, okay, let's start with stuff like AM2R and Pokemon Uranium, because like those were really cool, frankly. Those were something I was really looking forward. I was mostly looking forward to AM2R. I did play through AM2R as well, and I know. For me, it's like I can kind of partially understand why they would shut it down, because they don't want misrepresentation of their IP. But it's like when it comes to stuff they've left alone for so long, like Metroid being a major player for Nintendo. Like, they haven't touched a Metroid in forever. And even when they touched it, it's always been something bad. Like, I think the last good Metroid game was probably Metroid Prime 3, I think.
Yeah.
'Cause after that was like that really weird, like, one where Samus was like serving under
Other M. Was that
Other M. Yeah, that one was bad. That was not good. And like, you know, when they do their IP justice, like AM2R did, like AM2R is fantastic. If you have not played it and you like Metroid games, you should find it and play it. Like, seriously. It's just like a different version of like a Super Metroid would be. And Super Metroid was really popular too. Like, there's a lot of people that still play Super Metroid and ROM hacks of Super Metroid and speed runs of Super Metroid. And
yeah, that one in particular is very popular at AGDQ and whatnot.
that was it was and still is one of my favorite Metroid games of all time, just because it was fantastic. It was like a really long, fun game, and there was like zero dialogue, but you didn't need dialogue. You just need to find the power-ups, blow up the bosses, and get off the planet, man. It was cool. Still is pretty dang cool, but
You can save the animals if you want to.
yes, you even can save the animals if you want to. But anyway, I'm getting far too off topic here. So yeah, stuff like that. Like, I believe it is perfectly okay for them to like let stuff like that go, like stuff that does their IPs justice. I think this should be done more on a case-by-case basis, really. I think they should take the time to review these things and before they shut them down, because if they see stuff like AM2R, and even I haven't played Pokemon Uranium, but from what I've heard, it's really well done. Like, I don't see why they can't exist, because they're for free anyway, and maybe for some reason they feel like it's detracting from their sales of the actual game. But I mean, like for me, like I don't even even for Pokemon, like Taku watches so many Let's Players of Pokemon ROM hacks, and there's so many of those too. Like, there's innumerable ROM hacks of Pokemon, which
giant ocean of ROM hacks.
Yeah, which for those of you who don't know, ROM hacks are just basically taking the original game in its original state and just converting it or modifying it into something different. Like, for Pokemon ROM hacks, for one that I can remember off the top of my head was like Pokemon Sweet or something like that, where they turned it on the Pokemon into candy type Pokemons and stuff like that with punny names and stuff. It's actually really cool too. I saw stuff of that. It's amazing. It reminded me of like Viva Pinata had all these like pun names, because
oh, that's such a good game.
Viva Pinata had like puns on every name of everything.
It
was a
such
pun.
a punny game.
It was super funny. But yeah, I mean, like, stuff like that, like, I don't feel like it's detracting from their IP, and I don't feel like it's stealing their revenue, because most of the stuff, it's conversions of older games. They don't even sell anymore, for that matter. You know, and also, well,
in terms of Metroid, yes.
I guess in terms of Metroid, yeah. Like, and most of the ROM hacks of Pokemon are done usually from like the GBA games, typically, not from the DS games. Yeah. There probably is some for the DS games, but I know it's like way more prominent for the GBA games. I guess because the code's probably easier to handle.
Well, Pokemon Uranium, that was from a DS game.
Oh, it was?
Black 2 or something.
Yeah. Oh, it was from Black 2. Okay. I mean, which I think is out of production, though, I think now. Maybe it's still available on... It might be available on like their virtual shops and stuff like that, but
nope. Only the first generation is available on Virtual Console.
Okay, well, there you go. So, and like in that case, if it's something that they're not even selling anymore, like, I also see an additional reason to not even bother shutting it down, because it's really not going to detract from any revenue, and especially in that case if it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, because now we're starting to tread the territory of ROMs in general, or whether or not they should be allowed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there are a lot of games out there that Nintendo has made that are very old. Some of them are not on Virtual Console, and if you want to play them, what do? Then you have to get the console, then you have to find someone who's selling it secondhand, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
And at that point, Nintendo's not even making money off them anymore.
Nope. Nope, just the people who've been holding on to them forever are making the money off of them. Money's just changing hands at that point. So
because that's another thing about fan games. People do it for free.
yeah,
I mean, it's their passion to it's people who are passionate about the franchise that they make fan games of.
yeah, it's a beautiful
Yeah,
thing
that's true.
too. It's absolutely
Yeah,
beautiful.
I mean, I've not that I would ever try to make one, but I can see why people would be interested in making their own fan game of Pokemon, for instance, just to get in the mindset of what is it like to actually make a Pokemon game.
Yeah,
You know, you have to come up with all these new Pokemon and types and balancing with attacks and stats and whatnot. It's a huge thing, but if you're passionate enough about it and passionate about the franchise, then I think it's a lot of fun.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that.
definitely.
I mean, with Pokemon Uranium, didn't they have like, something like uranium type Pokemon or like radioactive Pokemon or something like that?
They might have. I mean, it would suit the name.
Seems like it would, definitely suit the name. But so, I mean, I could understand like them shutting down stuff that would give their IP like a bad name, like a really raunchy like Pokemon erotic ROM hack or something like that. You know,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. Then yeah, I'm like if you're a dude that's going around and sleeping / banging various Pokemon that are in their Pokemon format, okay, I could see
Oh,
that getting
jeez.
shut down because that's getting into territory where that doesn't look so great.
Yeah, and that goes back to what Iwata said about diminishing the dignity of the intellectual property.
Yeah. I mean, for that reason, you know, I could totally see them shutting down something like that. But to shut down just blindly just shut down every single thing that they come across, it's just, I don't know.
It feels like that's what they're doing anyway. At least back in September with 500 in one day.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's insane.
it's
That's
nuts.
crazy.
It seems like it's like they don't have the time to care, so they would rather just shut everything down versus picking things to shut down.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a little maddening, I guess, for people because like you were saying, Cosmo, there's people that are very passionate about their favorite franchises or IPs or characters, and they want them to be brought back to life in a new format
yeah.
that they could ideally create. Not everybody's a game developer, of course, but you know, but they would want to see it in some kind of new iteration, and like I can feel that as well because like for a franchise, for me, one of my favorite franchises is you know, aside from Metroid, would be Mega Man, and Mega Man hasn't had any great games in a very long time either. And I would kill if somebody made a fan game for like Mega Man that I could totally dive into and kind of get my fix, because Capcom certainly is not doing it for me anytime soon. It seems like.
Exactly. And that's the thing I thought about as I was reading through the article again. It's kind of like poor man's DLC.
Yeah.
As
I
in
can see
people that have played the main games and they want more content. They want more of it. But in case of the old games, the developers are just not making it anymore. You're not getting another Mega Man in the style of Mega Man 2, sadly.
No.
So people go out and create fan games created in that style and engine and whatnot. In a way, it's like DLC, more content.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
But another aspect of this is also if all those fan games are free and they are basically like the same kind of game as the main one, the real one, then I can see it becoming a problem, perhaps. Because then people can just get the real, the free thing that's just as good as the real thing.
Yeah. That's
So I can see why they're doing it in that way.
Yeah, that's definitely a valid point. Because if they're actually going to release something, that's from that same like character or IP or whatever, and they don't want to lose sales because people can just go to the free stuff and get what they want from that. But I mean, I'd say typically most of the stuff that's released from the major companies is usually very different from fan games, usually. But there's only so much you can do, I guess, as well. So there's like, if you're making it within that era, you can't turn Mega Man into like an open world game if you're trying to stay within the era, because it's just not possible with the systems, But I mean, if Capcom was to make a new Mega Man, they could certainly do an open world Mega Man now with the technology we have and the the tools and stuff like that. So
just make it better than Mighty Number 9.
Oh God, that I was so hyped for that too, and that was just that was a big, humongous letdown.
And see, that's another thing. They came out on Kickstarter and was like, hey, we're gonna make a Mega Man style game. We have some of the guys behind Mega Man doing this thing, give us money, whatnot. They got like so much more than they asked for. People threw their money at them. They wanted another Mega Man because they were not getting it from Capcom.
Yeah. Yep. And they made a killing on a game that was not quite as good as it could have been or should have been.
Yep.
But I mean, that should be proof enough.
That's another story.
To the larger companies that people are hungry for that kind of stuff, though. I mean, that got so much money. Like, even I threw money at that. I'm also guilty of that because, I wanted another Mega Man game too.
yeah.
And if the companies would do more justice to their own IPs, maybe fan games would be something that'd be a little on the downward end. But I mean, as it is, it doesn't seem like even now when I think about it, like Nintendo's major IPs like Zelda and Mario, they're still being treated, with all the kindness and respect, I guess. I mean, they haven't made a new Mario game yet, but I know it's probably coming soon-ish, I imagine.
Mario Odyssey.
That's actually kind of was a surprise to me on a different note, is that they launched with a new Zelda game instead of a new Mario game, because it's, from what I remember, almost every new Nintendo system has begun with a Mario game, traditionally.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the Wii launched with Twilight Princess.
Oh, okay, so they did launch with a Zelda game before then. Okay. I couldn't remember if Twilight Princess was a launch game or not.
It was for the Wii, and it was the last Zelda, Nintendo IP for the GameCube.
Wait.
And they did the same thing now with Breath of the Wild being the last thing for the Wii U and the first game for the Switch.
That makes sense.
Today I'm learning.
But back to fan games and whatnot.
Yeah.
Especially in the case of AM2R and Pokemon Uranium getting shut down within a week of their releases. I wonder if quality also plays a role here. If Nintendo feels threatened somehow about real quality fan games being like better than their main games. For instance, if there is one of their games that was very, very good and praised high and whatnot, but had a few pinpoints of things they didn't do well, and then comes a fan game that bases on all the stuff they did good and corrects the flaws. Now it's like objectively a better game. Would they feel threatened, so they have to shut it down?
Yeah. And that definitely
I guess that would be a possibility.
Could play into the reasons why they do what they do. Maybe they do feel threatened by these fan games that people are making. But I feel like if they took the time, they could even turn this around in their favor and actually maybe like recruit these teams like before they release and like employ them temporarily, and then when they release their fan game, like have them pay royalties off of said Fed game, like, sell it for, like $5-10 or whatever, and Nintendo can take some royalties on it, and the fan game guys are happy, and Nintendo gets money out of it too, and it seems like it'd be like a win-win type of thing.
And that has happened before. I can't give an example, but I remember something like that happened.
Yeah, I remember something like that happened. Like, I do have an example-ish, but it's not exactly the same thing. But I know there was a guy who made a mod that basically put Bejeweled in World of Warcraft, so that way you could play Bejeweled while you were flying on like your mount or griffin because you're bored as heck or whatever. And PopCap ceased and desist him, but they also hired him to work for them and instead develop their games. So it's not the same thing, but it's kind of similar. Like, I've heard stories of people being hired from doing stuff like that because, I mean, it makes sense. If these guys are that passionate about it, why not employ them to work for you?
Exactly. There's also an example in the article about a guy that made World of StarCraft mod for StarCraft 2.
I heard about that.
And then Riot Games went out and hired him to work for them. But Blizzard didn't really like the mod to begin with, but they eventually released it in the mod pack. So
yeah, I remember that. That was a pretty interesting story. So it's definitely a very complicated area, and I guess even
it is.
I guess Nintendo feels. I mean, I would say Nintendo mostly just is representative of the fact that they don't want to deal with it, so they rather just go and shut it all down instead of having to deal with it or try to figure out a way to make it work and stuff like that. But like, I mean, I love the example of Mighty Number 9 because that's the perfect example of like there is totally a market for these types of games.
Absolutely,
that is super untapped, but that the bigger companies won't let people get access to with their own IPs. But if you come up with something similar that's enough to not be a copyright infringement, you can probably make it happen.
I guess that's bring us back to Ukulele.
Yeah.
It was the same story pretty much. People really wanted Banjo 3. So they really threw money at them for the next best thing, which was a team consisting of former Rare developers creating in spirit a successor to Banjo-Kazooie.
Yep.
But if we talk about mods, for instance, it is, and I wouldn't say proved, but there has been a lot of success regarding mods for certain games that really benefited the main game. For instance, we have Arma 2. They mention on their Steam page that you need to get this and this pack in order to play the DayZ mod. Like they put it on their store page. That's kind of interesting when you think about it.
Is it? I guess it must be really popular.
The DayZ mod was incredibly popular.
Well, that's a cool thing about mods. Most certainly, is that if people like a mod of a game enough, they will most certainly buy that base game to get access to that mod.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I think also Sins of a Solar Empire did something similar regarding a Star Wars mod or something.
Yeah, mods are pretty great in that regard.
And then we also have Skyrim, of course, which has like an overwhelming amount of mods.
Oh god!
And there's a really, really popular. I guess it's a mod, but I guess what kind of mod? There's Enderall. You guys heard of that? It's like a complete overhaul of the Skyrim system, and it's for players that like they've played the main game and they want more. So someone made just this entirely new world based from the Skyrim system, and it's called Enderall. So there's a new story. They've changed up all like the controls, how magic works. It's now a meditation. There's like fully voiced characters and stuff. It's amazingly well done, and it was quite popular around the end of last year, I think.
Cool.
Oh.
So I guess that can
That's-
like renew people's interest in a game.
Totally.
Absolutely. As we saw in Arma 2, for instance, I believe there's the sales for the main game really increased when they see mod got so popular. Also in Skyrim, I can't remember what happened to that, but someone made a mod called Skywind, which is Morrowind in the Skyrim engine.
I think that's still being made. I think that's still being made.
Probably, because I can only imagine it will take a long time.
Because I'm subscribed to a channel on YouTube that, they talk a lot about Bethesda news, and
Oh, yeah?
I remember he brought it up, and it's still in production, and it's just like so far what they've done with it looks bloody awesome. I mean, I've never played Morrowind at all. I mean, my first Elder Scrolls game was Skyrim, and then I jumped into Oblivion and then back into Skyrim because Oblivion to me was I had issues with Oblivion. But
Same.
But what they've done with this Skyward remake, I mean, so far it's looking good. So if they eventually do release it, I mean, it's probably just going to end up as popular as Enderal, in my opinion.
Probably. So that is some cases where modding or fan games, in a way you could say, has benefited the main game.
Yeah, definitely.
So there are good stories out there, yet Nintendo are very aggressive with shutting down anything fan game like.
Yeah, that's true.
They do some weird things, Nintendo.
Yeah, I'm surprised I guess it's only stuff that's very, very visible. Because I mean, I know from playing I Want to Be the Guy, there's plenty of fan games that include Nintendo assets and sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yet I've never heard of a situation of them shutting any of that down, honestly.
No.
But maybe it's too complicated when you're taking a totally different game and using assets from another game outside that game. Maybe they kind of lose some jurisdiction on that. Because the ones they shut down were based upon their own games, but when you take another game and throw their assets in, maybe it makes it a little more complicated. I don't know.
I also feel like publicity has a thing to do with this.
Yeah, that's true.
Pokemon Uranium, for instance, got a lot of publicity when it was released, even before it got shut down.
That's true.
Everyone was like, "Whoa, Pokemon Uranium, that looks awesome." But yet there are still tons of Pokemon fan games out there that are not shut down.
Yeah. Yeah, there definitely is.
And even then, when there are so many fan games of Pokemon out there, and but Pokemon Sun and Moon for Nintendo was a massive success. So that still proves that people still want to buy the main games and not just play mods.
That's true.
Yeah, well, I think it seems like the most successful route to go with a fan game is to basically rebuild your game from the ground up so it's similar but not quite so crossing the line. That seems to be what is going to be the most successful tactic, because even with the Guy games, they're all very successful, and just now even the first actual fan game that's actually going to be on Steam is going to be out within, I think, I guess a month or two. The guy's name is Nemega, and he made a really fun fan game called I Want to Be the Co-op, which is one of the very, very few games you can play with another person, and it's super, super duper fun, and it's amazing. He has it working so you can actually play it through Java and HTML and stuff like that. So that way anybody could really play it. Yeah, he's a really cool developer. I've seen him, he'll come in and stop by on streams for people playing co-op and ask them, how the game's doing, if they've run into anything. And he's a really
nice,
really neat guy. But yeah, he's developing I Want to Be the Cat, which is such silly thing. It was, I think it was originally was named I want to be the rogue, but I think there was some copyright issues with that, so I think he had to quickly retexture, restore the thing. But it's going to be like the first actual fan game from I Want to Be the Guy that'll be able to be paid for, and I think it will be pretty darn successful because the fan game community for I Want to Be the Guy is it's niche, but it's still a pretty large community. So
my only question is, what does the developer of the real I Want to Be the Guy, what do they feel about a fan game?
Yeah, I mean,
coming on Steam and getting paid for it.
It's kind of interesting, you know, because like, I mean, obviously he hasn't shut down anything, so it's kind of spiraled to the point of, well, now there's the original Guy game, and there's like 6,000 plus fan games now. There's innumerable amounts of them, and you know, and I'm not quite sure what or how he feels at this point, but I'm guessing maybe he does not care very much, or because I don't remember if,
I mean, I guess if he did care, then he would have done something about this 6,000 plus fan games.
Yeah, he certainly would have.
I was just thinking that.
Like, even in the fan game community, the original game is not regarded very highly anymore, because as the years have gone by since the original game, like the line, the line that's like kind of like the average good line has been pushed higher and higher, and now the standards are higher and higher for better fan games. Like, even it's crazy because they all still use the same, if not similar, engine they did 8-9 years ago when the first game was released, but people are really pushing the envelope on the engine now, and a lot of people use Game Maker, and now Game Maker has released like a new version called Game Maker 2, which I think would allow them to push it even further, because like even in the newer fan games, like they have like lighting differences and stuff like that, and there's different mechanics and stuff that weren't in the original game. Like they have, in some games that I've played, they've actually managed to program mini games like Minesweeper into the game, which is
wow.
a fun, like a really weird and fun thing to kind of run into, and people have really pushed the developing envelope with that. And now his game is kind of like, it's not like the worst game, obviously, but it's just not the standards of what Guy games are now. So it's you know, it's changed a lot. I guess fan game communities can certainly evolve if let go, and now there's one that's going to be in production that actually is going to cost money. But this is I think is a really great thing, because it's opening the door for the possibility that anybody could do this now. You know, with Guy games anyway. If somebody develops a game to the level where they think that somebody might want to pay for it, then they can make sure it's not copyright infringing, you know, and put it up on Steam and potentially sell it. Because there is good fan games. I mean, people traditionally fan games are free, but it's not like for me, I would not mind paying money if it's good. You know, it's another game for me to play. You know, if I can get another 30-40 hours plus out of it, yeah, I'd pay $5 or $10 or 15 or 20 or whatever, you know. As long as we're not asking for $60 for like a 5-hour game. Nintendo
AAA price. No.
Had to get off my one shot at 1-2 Switch. Sorry.
Yeah, that should have been bundled with a Switch.
Yeah, it really should have. But so it's interesting where that is going, because I think
very interesting.
Like, it may set like new precedents and stuff like that. But you know, it's hard to say if it will be successful. But I mean, I think it will, considering like when you're designing games, you're not really investing money into like game assets. You're just investing your time.
Yeah.
So
to a certain degree.
So ideally, you know, a game would be profitable if you're just investing your time. But I guess it can vary. You know, if you're working with 5 people or whatever. I mean, I'm sure like people who spend millions of dollars on their games, like they hire a team of people and they get professional assets and licenses and stuff like that. So so it costs a crap ton of money, but you don't need that to make a good game, though, necessarily. You know, as Undertale had proven pretty hard that you don't need millions of dollars to make a fantastic game, because Undertale ran with other humongous games the year it came out, like Metal Gear Solid 5 and some other stuff that I can't remember right now. But, you know, Undertale fucking killed it for the amount of money that they put into that game.
Yeah. Yeah, they did set a goal on Kickstarter, and they got like $10,000 more than that, I think. But
shit,
they still had, all things considered, a fairly low amount in terms of how many they made of sales afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine Toby Fox is elated. I mean, there's even fan games of Undertale now, too, which they're still in development. And I don't see Toby Fox going around killing those, it seems, either. So that may be another thing, like just like with the Guy games. If people make Undertale fan games that are good and can even rival the original, it may push the bar even higher and maybe someday encourage Toby Fox to come back and say, hey, maybe I'll make another type of Undertale or something like that too. It might, or he might just be kind of like the guy who did the original Guy. He's like, you know, I'm fine with, you know, the original, and I'm just gonna leave it there, and people can just go crazy with it. And they might for years go crazy with Undertale fan games and make it to the point where there may even exist a fan game in the future that may be like statistically better than the original, not necessarily better than the original, but you know, just like a really awesome game. But honestly, Undertale is going to be hard. The original is going to be hard to beat. That's a pretty high bar to beat.
And I believe he even tweeted that at one point. He was like, the thing about making another game now is that it will be hard to beat the success of Undertale. I mean, the expectations are overwhelming for him.
Yeah, and that's tough.
But it's interesting you bring up Undertale, because that's another good case of fan games and modding, because he started by doing ROM hacks of Earthbound.
Right, yeah. He did start there with the ROM hacks of Earth, and they were actually not good to okay. They weren't even like the best ROM hacks either. But because I've watched videos of some of them, because I thought it was interesting to learn more about Toby Fox, and I did some research into him and stuff. But you know, they weren't even regarded as like the best ROM hacks or whatnot. But he got his foundations doing that, and that's how he ended up going to create Undertale, which is a fantastic original game.
Absolutely. I mean, you can definitely see that it's a lot inspired by Earthbound.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I don't know if he ever saw Off or anything like that, but Off is another kind of Earthbound-inspired game, which kind of has Undertale feels to it. If you've ever fooled around with it, it's something you may want to eventually check out. It's just called Off, OFF. Funny enough. I plan on checking it out sometime myself, because it seems like it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, like, if these guys are like that passionate about these games, it's like, I feel like it'd be great to actually hire these people, because if like Toby Fox came from small things to now making Undertale, like these guys, well, I guess not all of them are going to be success stories, but you know, if they're passionate about games like that, they're definitely worth having as part of like a game making team, potentially, I'd say.
Sometimes you just gotta like give people the opportunity, you know.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's a very, even if it is a can of worms area, I feel like it could be handled better by the bigger companies, especially Nintendo.
It could, yeah.
That's true.
But I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know the legalities, and I'm not a businessman, so I don't know the business side of this. You know, if there's like a humongous flaming hoop you gotta jump through to execute stuff like this, and maybe it is just easier to stop everything. It just feels kind of cold to do that.
I agree.
Yeah. And as MacArthur said, known as a video game lawyer, he said that it is completely legally unnecessary and terrible business and marketing. And it is terrible marketing because Nintendo got a lot of backlash for taking down those high-profile fan games.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely thought a little less of them for doing stuff like that. But it is what it is, I guess.
It is what it is. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a great and wonderful thing for at least the consumer, us.
It is, yeah.
You know, and I think it's great for the guys who go out and develop them and spend their hard-earned time and possibly money I guess probably money as well to feed themselves while they're slaving over the keyboard for hours on end, you know.
Yeah.
You know, my hats off to those guys who sit there and are super passionate enough to do stuff like this, and it's a shame that
that's true.
even if the big companies shun them, like, I think it's fantastic what they do. You know,
Absolutely.
I would never tell them to ever stop what they're doing. Even if they make a bad game, it doesn't matter. It's bad games can potentially lead to better ones. You learn from your mistakes. You continue working at it.
Exactly.
You make something better potentially, or you just don't, and you just leave it alone forever. But
it's all creativity, man.
yeah, I think it's great there's people that are that creative and are that passionate about something like this.
Okay, moving on to the last story we have. A shorter discussion, I feel. But this is very recent news as of recording this podcast. BioWare Montreal scales down, and the Mass Effect franchise is now on hiatus as a whole.
Which is not good news at all.
Hot damn, no.
Especially, you know, I mean, Andromeda is meant to be the start of a new, trilogy, and then it gets put on ice, and it's like, oh no, this ain't good.
For those unaware, the BioWare Montreal division was the development team behind Mass Effect Andromeda and also helped create DLC for Mass Effect 2 and 3. They were given the Mass Effect franchise to work with while the main BioWare department is working on their new next IP. And this whole shutting down, scaling down BioWare Montreal thing comes only 2 months after Andromeda's release, which kind of gives reason to speculate if the initial bad reception of the game might have had an influence in this. BioWare Montreal will now function as a support studio again, as it was when it was first created, and a number of its employees have also been moved to EA Motive, which is also in Montreal, to work on Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh no.
But as not Battlefront. Anything but that?
No, I was just imagining a Star Wars Battlefront with the same glitches that were in Andromeda. Is all.
Oh dear. Oh no! Just imagine my face is tired in Star Wars Battlefront.
Thankfully, they're stormtroopers. You don't have to worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're all wearing masks. So.
Or stormtroopers inside other stormtroopers.
My apologies. Could not resist that jab.
Oh dear. But as someone who's actually played Andromeda, what do you feel, Ice?
Well, I feel like, in the way, considering the reception that Andromeda did get, I'm not surprised that, they're hesitant on, adding more onto the series, but at the same time, it's a little bit like, what the hell is going to happen? I mean, obviously when Andromeda came out, you could tell it was not a complete game. It still isn't, they're still patching things up as they go. Like, just yesterday there was a brand new patch, I think it was yesterday or the day before, but a recent patch has just come out. And, so they're still patching things, and there's still more to go. I mean, they're adding on more and more things to storylines and whatnot. So, it's not finished. It's still not a finished game. But at the same time, if you're gonna announce a new, starting game to like a trilogy, the first game, Andromeda, the beginning of a trilogy, obviously expect more to be added onto that. And for BioWare to just come out and say, whoop, we're going to put it on ice, it leaves the players feeling a little, uncertain about what the hell is going to happen with, Mass Effect in general. Because, there are a lot of Mass Effect fans out there. And even though the majority are upset, with how Andromeda is, there are people that do like it and, they want to see more of it. So it can leave that majority feeling, really disheartened.
Absolutely. I the only reason I can think of why they would do this is because of all the bad press they got with Andromeda.
That's probably true. I mean, the amount of reviews that came out and articles of just how absolutely terrible it was when it first came out, with everyone's faces looking horrible and Drac being inside clones of himself.
Not all reviews were horrible. I mean, it got a Metascore of like 7 out of 10, which is decent, all things considered.
Yeah.
But I think, most of the backlash came from the fans or people that weren't even fans, but it just became popular to point fingers at the game.
Yeah. I feel like that's a popular thing. That's a popular thing of any, new addition to a franchise. I mean, even though it does have its flaws, look at Fallout 4, a lot of people like to point the finger at that, and even though there are people that do like the game, there's a lot of people that, they like to say, hey, well, they fucked up on this and this and this, and, it's a shit game.
Yeah.
It's quite a, it's got a little bit of a mob mentality to it, Once one person starts hating, then more will hate on it, and then, that's where the controversy grows from there, and, it gains attention.
Exactly, yeah.
Fans are a big part of making or breaking a game, and there's no perfect example of such a game than No Man's Sky. If Hello Games ever releases... I forgot about that. If they release another game, oh my lord, it better be perfect, because nobody is going to touch it otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Until you mentioned that, I totally forgot about No Man's Sky.
It is a forgettable game.
It's
the game that shall not be named.
It's something that everybody likes to forget, but it's the perfect example of how bad a backlash can certainly be on a game. And
it's still on sale on the Steam store for $60.
Which is,
what the fuck?
I don't know what they're doing. They just have given up at this point, I guess.
They have absolutely earned a ton of money on No Man's Sky, even though it was such a failure.
Yeah. Which makes me sad.
In my country, it's still really expensive. Because in New Zealand, new releases, they're anywhere from $90 to $120 for the standard or limited editions. So that's how much they cost. Yeah, it's not a cheap country. And No Man's Sky, it's still in the $90 department.
God.
If you walk into an EB Games, it will be $90. I honestly, I have no clue. I have no clue. But it's a shit decision and it sucks.
Well.
So yeah, back to Mass Effect. No Man's Sky is such a fun topic.
It is.
To really. and I think that's also the case. Not as extreme as No Man's Sky, I feel.
Oh no, definitely not.
Andromeda was also fun for a lot of people to point fingers at. Yeah. And it might simply, as we have mentioned, just by being like, okay, if we continue this new reboot of Mass Effect, then the next game has to be so much better on release as this was, and all that stuff. And it must have hurt the Mass Effect franchise's reputation as a whole.
Oh,
I
yeah.
since it
agree.
would put the whole franchise on ice. And I'm just like, oh my god. Mass Effect is one of my absolute favorite franchises, so this hurts me.
It's very aggravating because I feel like they did this to themselves. Like, I feel like they should have delayed Andromeda's release over releasing it in that state that it was in on day one.
I feel like EA is also to blame as well because, you know,
Yeah.
they like their money,
Yeah.
and obviously, I feel like it's possibly a case of BioWare being like, hey, we need a little bit more time to finish this because it ain't finished, and EA's just like, nah, son, deadline. Money.
Yeah.
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 Please,
I
now.
could very easily see that happening too. EA just says, fuck it, release it, and then this is what happens. This is the fallout of that.
Yeah, parent companies are usually like, I don't know, they're sort of the cause of a lot of problems or controversy. I mean, look at ZeniMax and the whole pray for the gods scenario that's happening at the moment. I mean, it's not Bethesda that has the issue, it was ZeniMax with the whole name change thing. So.
And it wasn't even them that had a problem with anything. It was the developers that did it to protect themselves for anything that could potentially happen. They were afraid of getting sued by them because, oh no, they're releasing Prey and we have Prey for the gods in our name. So let's just change it to a weird spelling. And I'm like, no, it looks ugly now.
I agree, it's so terrible.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't know
back-
what EA was thinking if it was truly their command to do this. Like,
I think EA definitely has a role in this. If they really pushed BioWare and be like, okay, you need to have it finished by this and then and whatnot. It's the same story as Dragon Age 2.
Yeah.
That was such a rushed game. A lot of copy pasting.
One thing I will say regarding Andromeda is that hype also plays into it because, you know, it's a brand new addition to the Mass Effect series, and it's like, holy fuck, this is going to be so good because, you know, the Mass Effect trilogy was awesome, you know, excluding the ending of Mass Effect 3, but we won't go into that.
Nah, that's a topic for another day.
But
We'll make a Mass Effect special where we just talk about the ending.
oh
2
god.
hours.
But yeah, I feel like, you know, when you hype something up, because, you know, the Mass Effect trilogy was a good trilogy, and, you know, you expect the newest edition to be, you know, to meet, you know, the standards of, like, Commander Shepard and, like, the story and the squad mates from before, and then to have, like, a completely rushed and not even completely finished game come out, you know?
Yeah.
Hype is a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
That's all
It
I'm going to
is,
say.
absolutely.
It's definitely a double-edged sword because it can really, really hurt or really, really help. I mean,
Exactly.
again,
I mean,
going back to No Man's Sky as a reference for the hype scenario, their hype was
Oh,
high and it went big time, backfired on them.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, I haven't purchased Andromeda, and I had
Me neither.
planned on doing it, but then I saw the GIFs and the images, and I was like, maybe I'll just wait a little bit.
Maybe not.
I'll just wait a little bit, let them patch it out, you know, and I'm like, maybe it
That's
won't be
smart.
like this on release day. Maybe they'll have some patch release day and it'll all be good, but nope, it didn't go. It did not go that direction.
I hoped
unfortunately.
for it too. I hope for that too. One thing I will say, just so I don't go into like a rambly monologue about Andromeda, is that even though I was, you know, like happy that I get to play it, you know, in March, I would have been like totally cool if they just delayed it longer so they could, you know, like fully complete it. Because the amount of bugs that I came across in the game, like, even though it was funny as hell, seeing a naked Jarl inside another naked Jarl, it takes the immersion out, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it was funny as all hell, don't get me wrong, but you know, bugs like that where there's like duplicates of characters and like, I don't know, like weird graphical glitches here and there and like dialogue and terrible facial expressions, it really takes the immersion out. So I would have been a lot happier if they like delayed it and, you know, released the completely finished, ready, good to go Mass Effect Andromeda, and that probably would have, you know, saved a lot of their like feedback and reviews that they had gotten.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, glitches and mistakes like duplicate characters and clones and whatnot. That shouldn't be a thing. I mean, that's a glaring glitch.
Yeah. That's why I think whoever said that they needed to release this did not actually play the game at all, because the glitches and stuff were like super obvious. They were pretty rampant. You know, and they were obvious even from the get-go with the not moving face thing. You'll have to excuse me, my face is not a little tired today. I'm just...
Just blank expression. My face is tired.
Yeah. And, I mean, the voice acting for that specific character clearly does not help.
No.
My face is tired. I mean, oh my god. I remember at the time of the release where I saw some headlines about how things were bad regarding it. It's like, really? Is it that bad? I saw a 1 minute clip where it was dialogue with that character, and I could not believe what I saw.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
that there's no emotion, no feeling in the voiceover or in the face or anything. I was like, what the fuck happened here? This is not BioWare.
It probably like, because I know you're, like you said, you know, you're a big Mass Effect fan. Like, it'd probably feel a lot like a slap to the face, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely
You know, you
feels
expect
like
it to be good, and, you know, for them to put a lot of care into the game, and, you know, for them to just half-ass it and release it earlier than it should have been released, it probably, you know, sucks big time.
I think I tweeted that out, the 1 minute clip, where I said, and just like that, all the hype I had was gone.
I think I remember seeing that tweet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched the clip
Yeah.
from your tweet, because I felt pretty much the exact same feeling you did after watching that. I'm just like, what happened? What
Why?
the hell happened?
I had avoided all trailers and all that just to, you know, don't get anything spoiled. But when I saw that as the first thing from Andromeda, it was like, oh, holy fuck. I could not believe it.
It's just, it's sad, because like, even though Mass Effect 3 was not the bangingest Mass Effect game, this would still, I feel like it wouldn't be difficult to make a slightly better game or equal to Mass Effect 3, and they didn't even manage to do that somehow.
That's true. That's true.
Oh,
One final note from me about this is that I would say that, well, me personally, that I can see, you know, a lot of positives in the game. I mean, you know, I ended up liking a lot of the squad mates, and there are, like, you know, some aspects of, like, you know, the story, both the main and, you know, like the loyalty missions and whatnot that I really, really liked. However, there are a lot of glaring issues of Andromeda. I mean, that's just fact.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely should have been delayed and, you know, finished completely.
To hurt the whole franchise as a whole, that's just...
It ain't
dear.
cool. It ain't cool, man.
yeah.
No.
And they haven't had enough iterations yet to where, like, one game doesn't really gonna ding the franchise very much. They've only had 4, so this is 1/4 of a reputation hit, at least. You know, when it comes to games like where you've had, like, I mean, like, just an easy one, you know, Mega Man has had like over 20 games or so. You know, one bad Mega Man game, whatever. Okay, you know, it's just a bad Mega Man game. But this, since they explicitly stated that it would be, you know, within the same confines of the universe, it wasn't like it wasn't necessarily a sequel, but more like an offshoot and another
reboot.
a reboot or a parallel universe, whatever you want to call it, something related to at least the other Mass Effect games loosely, and you kind of have this expectations already set for this, and then you just get to watch your beautiful plane just slowly crash and burn to the ground, it's as you keep playing, and you're just like, what happened, bro? Why?
But
Exactly.
I mean, it's for Mass Effect. Actually, come to think of it, it's kind of 2 in a row now with bad publicity, because the ending to Mass Effect 3 got everyone out with their pitchforks.
Yeah, it really did. That was definitely
true.
a huge pitchfork moment.
That was an extreme backlash. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
And now with Andromeda, the Mass Effect game that they make after that thing also gets a lot of bad publicity.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I understand why they do it, but man.
Damn. I just hope by them doing this, it didn't like they're saying they're putting it on ice. That kind of makes me wonder: are they going to go a step further? Are they actually going to say, you know what? No more games. We'll make books or something.
Ooh, that would hurt.
That would really hurt.
I actually have like
so-
cringe. Like I feel
Yeah.
pain thinking of that.
It really has me concerned, because if they're going to make another game, it better be on point at this
Exactly.
juncture, because a
They
third
better
bad
learn.
game, it's just not good if they make another bad game. Well, I mean, not that Andromeda's bad, but I should say not good. It's okay. It's okay.
They need
yeah,
to, if they, do decide to go okay, we're definitely going to continue with this, then they really need to, get their shit together and take what they fucked up in with Andromeda and make sure that doesn't happen, because if they do decide to continue, this new trilogy with Andromeda, then, they need to step up their game and get their shit together, basically. And make sure that it's good, because it would be like the make or break thing,
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty serious situation for their next game, because it's really going to affect the series a lot more than this one will, because now they've had 2 kind of things in a row, and it's like, are they going to number 3? You're out, man. You are out of there if you make something bad 3 times in a row. So it's because they're not going to be able to make money again. If they make 3 bad iterations and they try to make a 4th, it's not going to sell very well, I don't think.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I'm definitely concerned about the fate of the Mass Effect series now, because this is kind of scary.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I guess we always have the original trilogy.
Yeah, I just choose to write my own ending for the 3rd one.
Yeah. up to the
Fanfics.
up to
Yeah, fanfics.
Fanfics
Yes.
save us. And my fanfic, Femshep is alive and living on a beach with Garrus. Everyone's okay. Everyone's okay.
just play Mass Effect 3 up to right before the final mission.
Exactly.
And just play the Citadel DLC, because I hear that's amazing.
Yeah.
And just don't think about the Reaper invasion and how that thing came to be. Nah, it's fine. It took care of itself.
Just headcanon that, everything was all fine and that everyone went on holiday and it was your standard anime beach episode, and I don't know, Morden finally got to see his seashells.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now we came to a good ending of this podcast anyway. That's good.
We got there in the end.
We started on some slightly sad topics, it got more exciting, and now we're kind of getting to the sad topics again at the very end.
Yeah.
But then we picked it up with fanfics.
yeah, and they all hung out at the beach, and everything was hunky-dory.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we are out of time for today. That wraps up this episode of the Misclick Podcast. If you got here through a misclick, we hope that it turned out to be a happy little mistake for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. That was lovely. I'm curious, as one of you mentioned in the comments, when will someone actually arrive to our podcast through a misclick?
If
That's
you
gonna be
did,
fun.
let us know down below. And
Yeah.
whether or not
Absolutely.
you enjoyed the adventure that you went on via Misclick.
Yeah. It's been a bit of a roller coaster this episode with good and bad topics.
I feel like it's a healthy blend.
Yeah, definitely is.
Yeah.
I mean, all topics need to be explored, be they good or bad. So.
Thank you very much for listening or watching or however you decide to consume this podcast. We have been Cosmironic, Icewire, and Krakka. See you around.
Take it easy.
Bye!